Now then, and welcome back to another episode of Stoneblock 2 on the NemGo server. Last episode, we were working in this area a fair bit. We were setting up the engineer's workshop from Immersive Engineering, did the coke ovens and other bits and pieces. I've since gone and finished the room a little bit, made it look a little bit better, installed an AE system with its own ME chest that only stores Immersive Engineering items and nothing else. So I've got access to the entire network, and I've got access to just Immersive Engineering, just for quick reference to get into this table. When I need these odd bits and pieces, I can put them away into there. And that is simply making sure that the cell, which is accessible around the back here, has partitioned and include precise things that it's allowed to have. The other thing that we've done is we've set this up, so I've now made a few more. This is why we needed the workbench to set up a few more of these to make them in the first place. I think I had 3 that were gifted to me and was using a couple last time. This is pretty much the same setup as it was previously, with the fertilizer coming from above and the cows, and then being used in the machines. The fertilizer goes into the machines along with the water and all that, and power and the like, and that all works nicely. And just as you can see, it's working wonderfully. The conveyor belts, I added these as a little addition. The automation of the AE system, put in the AE cables, all the input on all of those, that would have cost me 7 channels. 7 channels just to do that, and it would block off quite a lot of the visuals as well, of the growing of the visuals and all that. So I decided to put a conveyor belt instead because, well, it's immersive engineering and it looks pretty cool. So they auto-eject onto a conveyor belt, like a conveyor belt pulls out from it when it's done. So we've got the melons and pumpkins growing nicely in there. We've got the cactus and the sugarcane. What was this one? This one is carrots and potatoes and wheat, all growing nicely, and then shipping off into an interface. So it automatically directs itself into the interface and goes into there. And then it's in the AE system, and that's great. So underneath we've got a end of wire, which is then auto outputting to a tank supply. Let me get behind here. Can I get behind here this way? I can get behind here one way or another. Oh yeah, that's right. I've got a little door hole here that I can break and go into here. I just made the cables going over the top like that. But down underneath here we've got the Immersive Engineering fluid pipes going down there all the way across, sending the water across and underneath as we expected it to. Yeah, that's working nicely. And now I'm 1 block short of that. Dang it. Now I'm going to have to replace that again. 1 piece of cobble. Thank you. So there's that all set up. Nothing much different from the last episode, just set up slightly neater looking and looking awesome. And those are the basic vanilla vegetables that I want to be growing fairly regular. I've also got these that turn them off. Now that doesn't stop them from producing, they just produce at a normal vanilla pace. Instead of using huge amounts of power and rushing and rushing and rushing. It doesn't use the power so much. It just allows them to grow naturally, and then they will still spawn and they will still go into the interface and they will still go on, but it's not powered. I can turn it on when I need it, but I've got so many of each now, I really don't need them on constantly ticking over and doing stuff. And above here we've got this section, which I've moved these around, the wireless transmitters. The wireless transmitter is in here, so it's got the receiver for the power supply from the big extreme reactors set up over there, and this stuff's just over here. And I can also turn this off, so if I didn't want it going, I could turn that off, so it would stop pulling out from there. And yeah, then the fertilizer goes down into that chest, and that's about it. There's space up here for more stuff depending on what goes above, and then that's that bit. So I've tidied that up a little bit, and I've also, as you can see in here, taken some of that produce and bringing it across so that it'll go into a fridge. Well, not that produce, I guess. All of this meat stuff is in the fridge, and then all of that produce is going to end up going into this here. That's right. And so I'm going to bring an A cable down this way and store stuff like that in the storage controller, so that in my kitchen, which I've started laying out, as you can see, in my kitchen I can have a wall of storage drawers with all the farming stuff that we are growing in the immersive cloches. Now, there's been some great improvements since the last time I played with Cooking for Blockheads. For one, the kitchen floor. You make the kitchen floor tiles and it joins everything that's touching the kitchen floor tiles into one system, which is epic. So that this then takes things from whatever, like the fridge is over here, and so now I can access all of those kind of stuff from inside here, because the kitchen's over there. The kitchen's connected through the floor. Before, we used to have to connect up with these tool racks all the way around and everywhere, and spice racks and stuff. So I actually made a few of them, ready to connect it all up. Then I realised it was already connecting by the floor, which is excellent. Also, they fit together much nicer. The counters and the tops and everything fit together so much nicer. They've done such a good job of making the textures actually fit that I no longer need to chisel and bits around the outside, which I had to do on the FTOG server at one point. But now I've got a cooker that's ready. There's actually an upgrade for the cooker as well, which is a heating unit. That allows us to slap the upgrade by right-clicking the upgrade onto the cooker, and it'll allow it to have an RF bar. I tried it and figured, yeah, I could do it, and I've left this space behind here so I could put a power point behind it and plug it in so it's automatic. But then I realised, actually, I've got loads of charcoal and coal. I may as well use it for something at least, so I'll put it into there. And I might sort out some kind of solution for the A system to go maybe underneath and through and insert charcoal into the oven at all times. And then there's this, which is a few upgrades of books. Which, if you know Cooking for Blockheads, it's not too hard to figure out through JEI how it all works. So I've started setting all that up, and I've got a little supply of the food that we picked up, and just had a bit of an organisation and a bit of a sort out, really. There's not really much in the cupboards. Cupboards are fairly bare. I've got a bit of this, a bit of that. Plenty of chickens. I don't know why I've got so many chickens. I think I probably have been running the mob farm and they spawn chickens on zombies, or zombies on chickens, or skeletons on chickens, or whatever. And so I've got quite a lot of raw chicken in the system. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do to eat up all the chicken. Winner winner chicken dinner is going to have to be a thing, because, yeah, we use so much. And then up here I started emptying out some of these random bits and pieces that we've been storing up and allotting. Also messing around, upgraded the furnace, and messing around with mystical agriculture. This seed reprocessor is quite cool. Don't need it, but seed reprocessor, quite cool. And I was going to start on the mystical agriculture quest today, and I started looking into it, and they're quite easy to make, actually. Quite easy to complete. So let's have a look at the quest book and see what we've got here. As you can see, I've already made a Superium bow. The quest book tells us in the mystical agriculture that there's only a few things to do. It's basically all the different tech levels. So crafting seed, tier 1 crafting seed, tier 2 crafting seed, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. The Infernum essence, which you grow, then you can make it into that, 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 and it's upgrades and upgrades. The furnaces, all the way up to the ultimate furnace, and the ingots, which make the furnaces all the way up to Insanium. And then there's the infusion crystal and the master infusion crystal as well, from the prosperity shards, which we've been digging up and gaining from sieving. So we already had a lot of this. We can make everything else, and away we go. Now, I've already started kind of making some additions to everything. Rabbit spawned again. Gremlins, that's what we should rename those. Rabbits need to be renamed as gremlins because they get everywhere. I started making a little auto-crafting setup just for saving me time making the mystical crops. Because I thought I was going to be making a load of mystical crops and making loads of farms and all that kind of stuff, when in actual fact, I don't need all of those quest results. So I just went through and I just made patterns for all of these things. All of these things can now be crafted within the AE system, and there's a special way of doing it so that I don't need to upgrade my Infernium thing at Mystical. So I have this infusion crystal. The infusion crystal uses up some durability, and this little thing here, right, prevents substitutes for input components. So if this is like the default setting, if I set it up like this and set up a crafting recipe around it, let's say we set up this crafting recipe around it. Okay, if we set this crafting recipe around it, it will only craft these if this exact 516 use left crystal is in the system. And that's not what we want, because when we've used it once, then it's dead, isn't it? So they wouldn't be able to use it. So we place this allow substitutions of input components, which basically makes it a bit of a fuzzy crafting recipe. So it will use this infusion crystal no matter how many uses it's got left over and over again in order to craft the item in question. And that all stays in the system. So we've got all this now available within the system. I've also got a load of this Infernium ore from Mystical Agriculture that we've been getting from the Void Miner. And loads of this Prosperity Shards and Prosperity Ores that I've been getting from the Void Miner and from sieving. So I've got a lot of the basic ingredients. I was looking down here to see which farming method was the best, or which fertilised dirt was going to be the best. This fertilised dirt from Hatchery is decent. It does 3 times growth rate, which is decent. This fertilised dirt from Random Things also does a random bone meal effect. I think one or the other is a random bone meal effect. Let me see which one's which. You do a random bone meal effect, or do you do a random bone meal effect? One of those two does random bone meal effects as they go, or as they grow, should I say. But the one is slightly faster than the other. And then on this side I've got an Actually Additions worm, which is supposed to do random bone meal effects as well. But as the mystical crops do not use bone meal, it was kind of irrelevant. So neither of them worked particularly faster than the other for that reason. And this growth crystal from Tiny Progressions doesn't seem to really do that much either. It's not very, very fast. Yeah, that's one's random bone meal affecting from Hatchery mod, which is nice enough for normal vanilla crops, but in this case, when the bone meal effect doesn't actually have any influence on these seeds whatsoever, doesn't make any difference. So it was this one, which is 3 times as fast, or 3 times growth rate, something like that. And then some of that, which makes a bonus as well, which I figured out that would probably be what I'm using for my setup. And then I was going to work on which would be my auto farming. And then I realised, well, actually, most of the materials that I'm getting from these mystical crops, I don't actually need in vast abundance, because I'm already getting them elsewhere, either sieving or void mining or whatever. And these crops, they're just a waste of frame rate and lag the server out a little bit. So I was going to have one setup in here that's just going to be a super fast setup for when I need some seeds drastically. I'll just fill it all up with one type of seed, or 3 or 4 types of seed, leave it overnight, and come back in the morning, demolish all the seeds, and just leave it fallow after I've stocked up on whatever it is I needed. That's the plan, right? So all I really need to do is complete these quests, and these quests are fairly straightforward in the crafting and making of things. So I've got to make all the different tiers of crafting seed. Right, so let's craft one of those. Craft that. That is seeds and prosperity shards. Nice and simple. And that'll give me one of those, which will unlock that first quest. Base quest completed. Yes, and that's that one completed. And give me the random reward for that. Some void metal ingots. Nice. Tier 1 crafting seed is there. Get a random reward for that. Some speed upgrades. Tier 2 crafting seed. There's a thing. Get a... oh, nice. A reward that way. Tier 3 crafting seeds. Normally all these things would take a while to sort out and get through. But because of the auto crafting, we're fairly quick at this. So then there's a tier 3, so we could craft one of those. Start. In fact, I could throw all these back in because I don't need them out anymore. Yeah. A tier 3. There's a tier 3 sorted. Then we'll need a tier 4. Does a tier 4 require a tier 3? It does need require a tier 3, so I can put the tier 3 back in. Now we've claimed it. Yeah, put the tier 3 back in. Now we've claimed it, and craft a tier 4, which will use the tier 3 and get through that. Oh, this AE system is so awesome. Just get through crafting everything, doing everything, completing all the quests. I should really complete all these quests pretty simply. Okay, it seems as though I've got to complete both of these together before I can actually complete the one. So I auto craft one at a time, and I'm going to get the stuff, but I'm not getting the rewards until I've completed both of them. Like, that didn't complete until that one. This one is in my inventory, but it won't complete until this one. I think this is the prerequisite of that. So we're working through the prerequisites in this order, and I was just looking at it funny. That's all. So, oh, that was it. It was there. So that one goes into there now. Thank you. And that gives me that one. So the next one, Insanium. So it's very simple to add. Just sort out the crafting recipe you want, add it to the blank pattern, and then we'll be able to craft one. Too much memory it's required. So if we went with, how many are we going to need? 3. So we're going to need 3 more of those. So if I craft 3 of those, is that going to be okay? Yeah, it can do 3 of those, but it can't do the final one. Too much information to process in the AE system. Too many crafting recipes, it can't quite make it. So we'll get that, and then we should be able to unlock those final couple of quests and sort them out. And also I've got to start making these ingots. Apparently I've just completed the infusion crystal as well by putting it in my inventory. We've done that one. The tier 6 crafting seeds. I didn't make a pattern for that. The tier 6 crafting seeds we're going to have a look at in here. Crafting seed. There we go. Tier 6 crafting seed is 4 of those around 1 tier 5 crafting seed. Which again, shouldn't be too much hard work. Make it hard work. Filled all that up. Let's make it into this one. There we go. Just put it in there, and now it should be available on here. Can we craft 1, please? It's going to say that there's not enough memory for that kind of option. Yeah, it's not got a CPU big enough to do it, and then it's saying it's missing those. So I'm going to go and fix that very quickly. So this should do the trick. Grab myself 4 more 64K crafting terminals, and that should make it a lot better, a lot faster. Now it's not connected to this one down here. I think that's because there was too many channels going into it, but when I have a little rearrange, this will work nicely. So I'll take this off here and take that out and try and get both of those things back over to me. This whole setup now needs a little bit of a rigging to change it around a bit. But I'm capable of doing that, I think. So we'll put that there and put another one there, and maybe get this out of here. The chickens have moved now, so come on, please. Where? Oh, you can't leave it there. You can't leave it hanging there. That's no good. All right, I'm gonna have to dig my way in. There we go. I got it. Good. Right, so yeah, there's no way we can leave it all the way we've got it, because I don't like that. That's not looking good enough. So we'll change this around a little bit and move things around and maybe update it and modify it, because my chickens all moved. I've now got them upstairs above this. So hey, it's a gremlin spawned and climbed up the ladder. So I've got my cows now set up here above these little things here. So we output with a fluid import bus from the cow, and storage bus puts it in a tank. Now I do have the AE drives for this as well, but I figured if I wanted buckets I can come and get them from here. It also looks visually better, and I was testing things out just to see what the layout's like. This might be subject to change. The roost collector on either side now for these chickens that were downstairs now has got an import bus that goes in, and this goes all the way around the floor here, all the way underneath, like a cable in should, with cable covers, facades going through to get to all the places all the way around here. So yeah, that's working now. Let's see if it can craft this thing up, see if it's too big a crafting recipe or what. So we need a tier 6. Are we going to be able to? Crafting, calculating, please wait. It needs 2 of those, and maybe it needs 2 fully fledged ones of those. Maybe it needs some more of those infusion crystals then. Oh, I've got one in my inventory. That might help. So it's going to need quite a lot of infusion crystal, I think. This also has extra uses, doesn't it? We can turn it into a higher tier one at some point. Okay, it's not in that though. So we can turn it into the master one, which is master crafting seed, which has unlimited uses, and that's 4 of those things. I don't think I've got those quite now. So if I made 4 of those now, I could make that and change all my recipes around so that I don't have to keep using that one ever again. But for now, that worked quite nicely, didn't it? It works to get you to this point so I don't have to mess around with all this crafting recipes and the like. And then once I get to that stage, once it's working for me, then I can get 4 of those and 1 of those and upgrade. And so there we go, we've got 4 of those now made, which means I should be able to make one of these master infused crystals and put that into my AE system. So now I can upgrade almost every process that we had previously and every disc with the new recipe that doesn't use one of these infusion crystals but uses one of these master infusion crystals. Because this is the second one I've got through just in this episode, crafting all these things. It's quite a lot, really, quite a lot. But now, can we use this? Because I made this one automate this section. Will it work? It's going to be missing the infusion crystal, so it can't do it without enough infusion crystal uses. So it realizes how many processes it's going to take. So I need to change that. Okay, so with those all changed, I should be able to craft up what I need in this section to finish the quests off. So I need the tier 6 crafting seed still. Let's craft 1. It's going to tell me how much I need of everything. I should have enough processing power now. I've got the master infusion crystal available, so it doesn't need to worry about that. It's going to process 629 infernium ore, though. That's going to be the slow part. It's going to have to process 629 ore just to make it. If I put 1 of those in and ask it to do the tier 6 crafting seed, it's going to calculate again, and this time it's going to have much less ore use, like half the ore use, but still it's going to need to be done. So if we start that off, we'll let it run because it needs to, and it'll start by doing everything in the factory over here. Start by doing everything in the factory, so it'll be processing, here we go, it'll be processing in the pulverizer all of the infernium essence that it needs as fast as it can. Now it looks like I'm going to have a problem here with this not being fast enough and output. Oh, wait a minute, I know what I should be doing. This should be an up and down output. So it comes in from the top and out at the top as well. No, bottom. There's me doing it that way around. There we go. Get rid of it there. Yeah, because I changed that to set things up in the first place. So now it's going to be auto-crafting all of that properly, which now is showing me that that tier is sorting, and it's slowly but surely working it all out. It's going to craft all of that. That's a lot of essence in order to craft 1 of those. But at least it's doing it while I'm doing something else. That's the be-all. At least it's doing it while I'm doing something else. So I'm just going to claim some of these rewards and chill out for a little bit while it carries on making this last quest for me. In fact, let's just collect them all. What do we got? A couple of ender chests, a generator, signalium increase, climbing gloves, and a torch launcher. Excellent. So now I'm just going to wait for that tier 6 crafting seed to be done, and then we'll start working through the ingots. We should have that already, and then get through the furnaces. That's all good. Well, there we go. 20 minutes later. Finally, quest completed for the final one of that run there. Claim a random reward. It better be good. Octadic capacitor. Not too bad. And now we just need to go through the ingots, which should be also super simple. Especially since I've done all this. There's one of the infernium ingots there. That's that one done. Yeah. I think they're all slightly different crafting, aren't they? So they don't need the previous tier. Oh yeah, they do need a previous tier to do it. So we'll go through and craft them all bit by bit. Oh yeah, that one is slightly higher than the one before it, isn't it? Let's go with that. Let's go with that as a reason. So I've got to get that one first. They don't have alphabetical order, do they? Got those 2 completed, yeah, and then one of those. Suprarium. I've already made one of these to make my bow, so I can go and kill the Ender Dragon. Are you processing? Did I click that right? Oh, it's missing that, so it is processing somewhere down the line. Yeah, there we go. It's processing that one somewhere down the line. Let's put those in, and then it'll get it done faster. One less crafting to do. Should work all through those. And then we've got Signalium ingots I've already crafted up. There we go. We've got those final 2 of those ingots. Now it's just the Insanium ingot. And the Insanium ingot is pretty boss to get hold of. So the Insanium ingot is going to need all of the processing power once again. Oh, we're missing 30 Infernium ore to need enough essence. So I'm going to need to farm up a little bit more of this essence in order to create that. And then, once I've done that, I wanted to craft a full suit of armour for it all. And it only goes as high as this stuff. It only goes as high as Supremium. So I'm not really that fussed, because I wanted the ability to fly with the heavy armour. I wanted the flight and all that kind of stuff, with charm slots and all that in it. But I need to kill the I need to get nether stars for that. All the other ones seem to be easy enough to make on the way through, but I do need a nether star to get me going on the final piece of armour. But that is all we've got time for in today's episode, folks. Thank you all very, very much for watching today's episode of Stoneblock 2. A little bit of auto crafting again. Yes, just to get through the quests. A lot quicker to complete the quests once you've got the AE system all installed and the auto crafting's all done, and you get a little bit of ore from a void miner or whatever you get it from through growing crops or whatever you like. It's very good, it's great, and now I've got the ability to make any of the seeds that I want, pretty much. I do want to upgrade my armor though and go and fight the Ender Chicken and potentially the Chaos Chicken. I'm not sure about doing both of them or either of them, but we'll see what we can do in the next episode to round off a few of those quests and have a bit of action, because it feels like I've been wiring and engineering for quite some time. See you in the next episode of Stoneblock 2. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.